So welcome to today's webinar, where we'll be speaking about the mergence of online and in-store and how to create a seamless customer journey. So I'm joined today by experts from across retail and technology to discuss the importance of this seamless customer journey. We'll be talking about the do's and don'ts of customer experience, the future of retail experience, both online and in store. So we'll be looking at creating the right retail culture to providing the right tech for customers and staff. So I'm joined today by Craig McCauley, who is the MD of Pimberley, Emma Reid and Phil Durrell, both of Retail Remedy, and Alistair Harris, the owner of Loculus. So, guys, what is a seamless retail experience?
Well, I think it's two things. I think it's consistent, so it's a consistent brand experience at each and every customer interface, and it's easy. So from going back to consistent, it's consistent in terms of product and promotions, same product, same events, same core promotions, standards, identical quality and service standards, and look and feel. So whatever channel you're going on to, you get the same aesthetic, style, language and tone of voice as well.
I think those are really easy things to say as well, and I think that our experience in Retail Remedy, when we talk to consumers and we talk to clients, they get the words of it. Putting it into action is the most difficult thing to do, because they've got to permeate throughout the whole of the organization. So Emma was just talking about product and promotions. So, sorry, Emma, go.
I was going to say it's easy, and that refers to speed at which customers can get the information. So it's fast, facilitated customer interaction. There's customer recognition. This is one of the things that really is apparent at the moment when you're looking at multi-channel experience from a customer perspective. There's loads of instances where the customer has to re-identify themselves multiple times, and that just isn't seamless. And then there's the aspect of data, shared data. There has to be a unique source of data, and all colleagues, regardless of channel, need to have access to that data.
Yeah, there's got to be one source of the truth as well, so that all the colleagues are making sure that their reference point for what is actually happening with customers is the same, and no one silo within an organization is coming out with their own little truths that actually make their part of the organization either more important or the ones that we should follow. It's very important that there is only one version of the truth with reference to reporting.
And I would agree with all of that, and it simply provides the ability for organizations to do that across the online, because of that single source of truth, and then put out the channels. It's, as Emma said, it's getting that consistency in the in-store as well, and that product information can be used to complement those different channels, because in-store is just another channel.
I mean, I concur. I mean, the whole point of Loculus as technology is bringing consistency across multiple channels, whether it be communication within customer services center or online or in the retail space. And I think technology plays an important part in bringing all that information and data together to give that.
Yeah. And why is it that you think it matters? Do you think, and do you think it's generational? I mean, obviously, a lot of shoppers are going online now more so than they ever have done. But before it wasn't all generations, it was more the younger generations that are heading online. Do you think that sort of has an impact now on this seamless experience and what customer expectation is now?
I think the COVID pandemic has probably accelerated the journey for people to make the first forays into online. But is it generational? No, I don't think so. I think everyone deserves a seamless customer experience, where, whatever age they are, whether they're 20 or whether they're 80. And I think that the problem is that what we try to do is we over-categorize. Retailers tend to over-categorize customers and say, oh, this is an online customer, and this is a bricks customer, and this is someone who shops with us on the catalog. It's not really like that anymore. These people shop omni. They shop everywhere, and they shop in very many different channels. And I don't think it's about how old you are. It's just about your brand experience and making sure that is consistent at every single touch point. And that's not an easy thing to do.
And more and more customers, sorry.
I think it's also brought about by expectation driven by market leaders. You know, Amazon next day delivery with Prime. You know, it's the next. You know, click and collect. You know, the leaders in their fields have driven this expectation from others. And so, if you're not within that they've experienced partly that, maybe not the full journey with everybody, but once people have experienced better, they want the better. So I think it's to accelerate and think we all have to take a look at what things work and what don't work, and then really push it forward.
And have you seen any examples that you, oh, sorry, Emma, after you.
I know. I was just going to say, I think as well, we need to move away from the assumption that consumers shop using one channel only. It may well be that they saw something on social, they saw something on Instagram, which then led them to go to the website, which led them to think about it, which led them then to go into a store and purchase it. So it's at every interface, the experience they have of the store needs to be the same but equal.
Yeah, and in truth, very few retailers are purely just bricks. I mean, people always talk about Primark being, absolutely, they're just not online. They talk about it in the press as a fact that they're still successful and they're not online. Of course, they're online. They've got 8.5 million customer followers on Instagram. Not think those people are following them in the bricks. It's because actually they're looking at what they're doing on social media, a digital channel, and saying, yeah, I'm going to get that when they open again. That's the place I'm going to go. It may not be about selling online, but in a way, it's influencing online. And that's just as important. And people leave that behind at their peril.
It's also about bringing the two together. If we look at what a lot of people will buy in the shops, is sometimes they will go and view it in the shop and then buy it at a later date. I was reading some statistics yesterday, and that's growing more and more in terms of particularly electrical goods. So you want to go and see the television, it's a big purchase that you're looking to make. It's a lot of money, and for psychological reasons, you just want to see it before you buy it. And a lot of people will then buy it later. If that product information doesn't match from the store through to online, then retailers will lose that sale whatsoever. And also the information can complement in store. You can have more fact sheets on something technical online than can be held in the head of all of the shop assistants, no matter how knowledgeable they are.
Yeah, totally right.
I think for me as well, an example of a great kind of cross scenario is Apple do it very well. I think from they're online, or then you go in store, they don't have a point of sale as well. It's all about the experience. You've got Genius Bar, you've got the experts in there. You're bringing that advantages of physical bricks and mortar compared to the online piece, but they do marry that quite well. And obviously they got very defined products, and they can, aspirational products, so people will travel and to go to their destination store. But I think, they do it very well in terms of bringing that kind of seamless experience together.
Yeah, I recently moved, and I moved from the north down to Cornwall. And one of the things that was really interesting was when I was trying to set up all the different services that I'd had for many, many years. One of the key providers, I won't go into the absolute provider who that was, but let's say that they use phone lines. Getting to an understanding of that I'd moved and that my account needed to move, and the fact that I needed a broadband setup, etc., was painful. And it took several calls in one given week just for them to accept the fact that they had to make a change. And every time I phoned them up, I had to restate the problem, restate what had happened, and give them that whole history. That is the opposite of seamlessness. I want to know that every time I connect with any service provider, whether it's in retail or a digital service, that they're going to know who I am, what my problem is. They've got all the information on my screen, and they just deal with it. Not the fact that actually I have to go through this whole rigmarole again. And that's exactly why Alistair's comment about Apple is so spot on. And it's I mean, Emma was talking recently about Next Clothing, and the fact that they've been in catalogs for so long has given them some advantage as to how they look at customers and how they have seamlessly adapted the retail model to be both online, on catalog, and in shops.
There's the several options. Delivery and returns is obviously key to this. You can't be seamless and force your customers to return using one route and one route only, and they have to fill out this form and this form and the next form. That's not easy for them. So giving a variety of options, getting your customer to return something in store is always helpful, because they go into a store, they might see something else while they're returning their original purchase. And offering, if they haven't got a size or they haven't got a style that's suitable, getting the store person to say, we'll have a look online, you know, we could give you this, you could even pick it up tomorrow if you like. That's seamless. That's making it easy for the customer. So
yeah, absolutely.
But making it easy is Ellis Brigham, one of our customers, that noticed in lockdown that the rise in 18 to 34 customers buying, and particularly through the introduction of Klarna, grew that base quite considerably. So when the stores opened, they're allowing the customer to buy through Klarna in store. So you get all of the benefits of Klarna that you would buy online, but the instant gratification of being able to take your goods with you.
Away.
Yeah, so I mean, we talk about this mergence, and that's an example of online and in store, or what people are calling coining phygital at the moment. So what can in-store teams be doing to support online teams and vice versa? Because often they're very much separate, aren't they?
yeah, and the reason for that is, I think the more established businesses are on the back foot a little bit, because they've grown organically and they've bolted things on as and when required. You know, or we need to go online, let's bolt on an online team. Or we're going international, let's bolt on an international team. Oh, we need to do this, etc., etc. And you end up with silos. And as a result of that, you end up with channel-specific data, channel-specific job roles, channel-specific targets, specific events and promotions. And most of those businesses, if they're honest with themselves, have a preferred channel as well. And then the others are secondary. And that's just got to go. All of those barriers have got to be brought down, and it's very much got to be a one team, one solution, one data pool type of mentality going forward. And that's what the new companies that are doing really well, they've got that advantage because they were set up like that. And you know, it's the others are playing catch up.
That's probably the only element of it which is generational. If you think about it, the generations of companies that have evolved for bolted things on, not like Next, who've done it really well, but have just bolted it on and created silos. And the ones that have started up thinking online or thinking bricks and knowing that it's actually got to be just one channel, because actually that's all customers see. They see a brand and that's what they're buying. They're not buying it from a store, they're just buying it from that brand.
I think though also technology part here in terms of it what's the advantage of going into store? It's obviously speaking to the experts that may sit in the store. It's actually bringing, especially large purchases. You mentioned, Craig, about, you know, telly or TV or sofa or piece of furniture. Well, it's about businesses utilising that in-house experience online as well. So opening up channels to physically see the goods on in the showroom, in the store, whilst you're online, chat to somebody who knows about that specific product, head of sofas and, you know, furniture retailer, can ask questions, ask about measurements, and you know, get that real detail that you would get from store. But also on the flip side, in store, being able to access the information, as said Craig, about all the information that's online that you have access. So it's the emergence of those two kind of technologies, and I think the key challenge, I think, is understanding who the customer is as they walk in store to give that personalized space. How do you solve that problem? Online, it's easy. You've tracked, you have an account, it automatically logs on, it knows who you are, knows your last purchases, it can track what you had. How do you do that in store? And I think that's a challenge that retailers will have. But as I say, it's that I think a key to this is bringing that experience and knowledge of the in-store environment online, as well as having it in store, using physical retail as a showroom to the acquisition.
And surely technology can influence that, Alistair.
Yeah, I mean, technology brings that information into one place. Technology allows the data flows. It allows the applications. It allows product information to be shared consistently. It allows the interaction with the customer. If pushing it to the store. Without having to go through a whole rigmarole of identifications, etc. Technology can provide the kind of tool set. It's the want of the business to accept that and implement that and change the culture of the business to be all about that customer, be all about the multi-channel, not just a single channel. So I think technology can aid and can play a major part in this, but businesses will have to change too. I mean, I'll be interested to see, obviously, Marks and Spencer's rolled out there. I think nothing off the table kind of strategy back at the beginning of the pandemic. It'd be interesting to see that juggernaut try and change the way it's historically operated to really meet the needs of the modern day.
We found that customers are willing to part with information if they get a more personalised experience as a result. So if by with giving over some information, the service they get is more relevant to them, they're happy to do that.
It's also that the direction of push to technology as well. I think that last time, I think it was Bill raised it last time, when you walk into the store and you get all the notifications, and that was driven the wrong way. It can be the store in-store driving it to online as well, and the seamless kind of complementing each other rather than relying on a technology pop-up, which by that time everyone's turned their notifications off because it drives them mad every time they walk in a shop and they go, oh, I know who I am. So that was kind of, in my opinion, a little bit done to death to start. So it's kind of dropped off. You can get the stores to drive it as well.
I think technology definitely has a part to play in this, but it can't be the solution. It's got to be a customer facing solution, and that's always best when it's a human to human contact. When someone's looking at someone and saying, oh, by the way, yeah, actually that dress looks fantastic on you. We also do it in a blue and it's online. And we also do that with those shoes. And I've seen them on this Instagram influencer, boom, boom, boom. And that sort of conversation where the person in the store physically is engaging with the customer and enticing them to explore other elements of their catalog that are not in that store physically. People genuinely find that a difficult thing to conceive and deliver at store level. And the vast majority of those reasons is because they're not incentivized to do so. They think, actually, it's about shop sales. I just need to get shop sales. Breaking those silos down, making sure that you have really clear elements that reward the person in the store for doing that interaction and making it more omni-channel is key to delivering it. It's got to be about a person speaking to another person and inviting them, and whether that's digitally, as in an Instagram account or a TikTok account in some way, shape, or form, or physically in the store, someone speaking out and reaching to them and saying, actually, we do this, and this will really suit you. And we've all been into retailers, and we've all been to the checkouts where someone said, oh, would you like a digital receipt? And we know why they're asking for that digital receipt. They're asking it so they can then have the ability to start firing us loads of stuff. But it's not particularly elective. It's not something I'm walking towards. It feels like, as a customer, I'm being forced upon it. And you've got to flip that. As a customer, you've got to be customer facing and say, right, how can I best serve this customer in this channel and every single other one, without necessarily bombarding them with stuff that really they don't want. And that's the key.
Yeah. There's always been a mantra in retail where it's product first. I think, in some businesses it's price second, but more often than not now, in a lot of businesses, it's customer experience second.
Yeah. And obviously we're in a world where the high street is clearly evolving, and that has been accelerated over the past year. But how do you think it will continue to change over the coming months and years? And what can we expect? I mean, people talk about the death of the high street. That's not going to happen, is it? There are still going to be shops there. They'll just become more experience focused, I guess.
I mean, Victoria, I've been talking about the death of the high street not happening for probably 20 years, I would think. And the internet was supposed to be, you know, the death of the high street. COVID, the death of the high street. Listen, I think that we are all social beings. We like going out. It's a social event, going out shopping, grabbing a coffee, looking at stuff, browsing, and doing what Emma was talking about before, having a look at things, touching things, talking about what Craig was having a view of that TV and feeling, yeah, this will feel great on my wall. And then maybe lodging something in your mind and saying, yeah, I might buy that later, and I'll check it online and see what the price I'll get out of it. So is the high street dead? No, not at all. And the two focuses I know that we've got as Retail Remedy going forward is about sort of like how you make that digital transformation really apparent for all those brick stores, and making sure that they've got a seamless approach. And the second one, which is probably not really relevant for today's conversation, but it's about how you actually help them become more sustainable and migrate towards a more circular use of resource. But that's probably one for another webinar, I suggest.
For me, it's about experience. So the online, well, it comes back to what you said, Philip. I think, you know, it's all about generating that experience, the experience again shopping, the experience of socializing, the experience again for lunch. It's the experience of, you know, and stores need to embrace this experience rather than having, you know, I know some retailers do, but a confusing experience. The Debenhams, for example, you know, there's nothing worse than walking into old Debenhams and not knowing where stuff is. You know, it's not a nice experience. Where do you go? Where's the men's department? Where's the changing rooms? The big queue. No one's like trying things on. You know, that's kind of classic. The experience wasn't at the forefront. You go into other stores. I've already mentioned Apple for one, but an espresso store. It's about that cafe. It's about the experience. You're not just there to buy coffee. You're there to taste coffee. You're there to be at the bar. You know, it's you feel safe to go there. It's a nice experience. So I think, and they do it quite well in terms of, you know, you can order coffee for someone else if they know their postcode, you know, give a gift kind of thing, and you don't have to worry. They know what they've had before, so they do that kind of data bit quite well at Nespresso. But you know, it's a big experience, and I think retail has to move in that. Whereas I've already mentioned, shops become more showrooms and experience centres rather than places you actually physically buy. You might choose it there, you might order it there, but it gets, you know, lugging that bag around, it be at yes and an hour and a half time or whenever you want it to be there, someone else takes it, or someone puts it in your car before you leave. You know, it's that kind of piece. So I think that's where it's going to go, in my opinion, and that's going to be led by a mixture of cultural change and technology change.
And I think everyone's the online space. They're actually looking for physical stores or physical space as well. So it's going the other way. It's recognised that there's absolutely a need for a physical presence, whether it be having a shop window in Westfield, which some of the online brands are now doing, in order for people to actually see their product and to signpost that they've got, that they're out there, or whether it be pop-up shops, which are increasing in popularity. There's loads of websites now where you can book a store, a really nice store that you can use to showcase your brand for however long you choose to do so for, whether it be a month or 6 months. But loads of online who've been thought of as pure plays before are looking to do that in order to interact with the customer. So.
We've seen that with some and if you look at some of the typical, particularly in the fashion e-tailers, Couture Club did it exceptionally well. Started as an e-tailer. The guys come from a celebrity background, and they realised that if they had spent some of their marketing budget on a shop, because of the simple footfall that goes through the Trafford Centre, it was worth doing it just for the advertising and the footfall. Then taking the online world of their success around their celebrity endorsements and the influencers, and getting the celebrity endorsers to the store, more or less shutting down the Trafford Centre because these amazing celebrities that you knew would be in store at that particular time. There was a story of I forget the makeup brand that did it, but they had one of the famous makeup vloggers go to Birmingham. It shut down Birmingham Centre. I mean, the whole thing was great. They had police helicopters and everything. And they warned the police that this was happening, and they were like, oh, it's just some makeup vlogger. There was like 100,000 people in the bull ring, and they just had to shut the whole thing. So bringing that online success and experience of what's driven their business into the stores as well is really working and being really powerful for them as well.
Yeah, I think that's completely true. I think I think the ability for retailers to collaborate as well is something we're going to see a lot more in the future. You're already seeing some of the larger supermarkets where they've got excess space, looking and saying, well, okay, how can they use this space more effectively and get people who I think might actually like some of the stuff I'm selling into my store. So you see these collaborations with Decathlon and B&Q in some of the Asda stores and so on and so forth, and that's just going to continue. And I think that will happen because supermarkets generate a lot of footfall, and therefore people will always want to be around footfall. And if you're a retailer, putting your goods in front of lots of footfall who are customers that might buy you will always be a great thing. Step up that and say, well, okay, you've got the internet as well. You can actually use that as a footfall driver, and that in and of itself is a shop window. It's just another form of collaboration. These things are all connected. They're not different, and they're not boxes that people either do or don't do. At some point in the future, probably 10 years from now, we won't be thinking of this as omni-channel. It'd just be shopping. It's just how we do things. And our language will change and adapt to the fact that what we once thought, as we do now, that these are little separate silos. It's just that brand. Oh, I shop that brand.
And in terms of the sort of the tech in stores, can you see, like, in the future, walking into a store, turning on an app and then being signposted to something, or being in a changing room and having people bring something to you that they know that you've been browsing for online, for example?
We've spoken about this previously, about this sort of beaconing when you go into a store, and the fact that your phone goes off and says, we just know that you've gone into this store. And a lot of people, quite a lot of people, find that quite intrusive. And I know that we did a lot of analysis of that years ago, and it was just a no-no. I don't think it's any different now, really. I think people would rather elect to get this information rather than be pestered with it. Do I think that technology, with reference to the ability to purchase things in store, that could definitely improve. People coming up with an iPad and saying, I can see you like those shoes. That you've seen these shoes as well that we do as well. We can get these for you in this store tomorrow, or actually probably sent to your work address tomorrow if you want. Those interactions that are customer and human led, staff led but using technology. I think that's where it goes. And people talking about these magic mirrors where they'll look and they'll say, well, it'll put that dress on you. That may happen, but I've yet to see that really take the place of any customer's friend saying, no, you look fat in that, love. And that's the difference.
Yeah, I think Burberry did that years ago, didn't they?
I think technology will, as you say, I think if it gives the person the ability to have the information to assist their client, their customer in the best way, that's where technology plays it. It might be that mannequins get suddenly, electronic mannequins get dressed in, what they've been looking at on the internet or something like that. But I feel the most powerful thing in store is giving the information to the store the consultant, who can go up and then treat them like they know them and understand what they've been looking at, what they want. Have they tried this? Give them advice. That's why you go to stores, as I've already mentioned Apple, but that's what you go to store. You ask advice. You want to know things, speak to a person about things, and you want your mate to, as you quite rightly point out, say, you ratify your decision, which you don't get online. So I think technology would definitely play its part in that, and it's the ability to recognize that person, whether you do it by an app or whatever, to understand that that's Craig, he lives in Manchester, he likes buying suit jackets. It's that kind of that's what's really going to, I think, produce that personalized experience of that store, rather than going in and going, I really like this sort of thing or that sort of thing. It's preemptive, that kind of value add. Yeah. And I think technology can take that from the data from the online experience, what they've been browsing, their last history with you, what they've bought before, categorize that into what, your new season and what you're trying to get out there. If it's clothing, or if it's a TV or electronic equipment, if they bought a telly 6 months ago, I'm not going to try and flog them a telly. I'm going to try and flog them a DVD player if they still exist by then. It's that sort of where technology will play.
I think there is also a point here that there's probably a challenge to a lot of retailers, a lot of the traditional retailers, and not just the traditional ones, also the ones that are up and coming. The startups. They've got to look at their own board and the decision makers, and look and see whether they've got and embraced some cognitive diversity. We've spoken to lots and lots of boards about, why we would do something slightly different, and we're largely talking to people of my age and sex, rather than the people who are likely buying the products and the way that they're buying them. And I think that you've got to look in the mirror a little bit, and as retailers, and say, have we got the right decision makers here for the way that business is going, the way that customers are shopping? Who in this store, who in this board is shopping in these channels, is looking and following these influencers, who is actually, doing a little jig on TikTok and thinking it's fun? These are the big questions that retailers have got to ask themselves, about their physical makeup, and whether or not they're really in the best possible shape to be able to cope with the next 10 years.
We're not suggesting that the 18-year-old needs to be on the board, but the people on the board need to take notice of the 18-year-old who's raising the orders. That's the way to do it. Yeah. And when it comes to personalisation, I think most retailers have got a long way to go in terms of getting that smarter and more accurate. There's nothing more off-putting than, because I put my age into some kind of engine that is going to tell me what I should be wearing, to be told that I should be wearing, cardigans and lace-up sandals or something. There's nothing more insulting than actually passing over your information and how you get categorised. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in that field as well.
There is, and I think that in terms of the question of technology helping is one of the biggest limitations of stores is their footprint. They're limited by the amount of space they have in that store. Technology doesn't particularly have those boundaries. So, for example, you could only have so many mannequins in a shop that have a curated look. You could have as many as you like online, and we do a lot of work with curated looks. And that's where some of the personalization could come in as well, is they start to understand your curated look. So you're buying that, as I said, my nice suit jacket, not nice, but a suit jacket, and Craig likes this type of shirt with it. So we'll put that as a curated look. So I think that's how they can bring the technology and the store in, is almost if you knew your curated look, or you had that profile, is, well, I'm looking at buying this in store, let me have a look at what this store recommends I buy it with. And then through learning, it can go, right, that's built up a profile of me, and it can help with those limitations.
The store and channel profiling is almost becoming outdated already. Just because, I think I said this before, but just because you live in Folkestone doesn't mean to say that you want to buy beachwear. But that is very much how store planning works. It's a coastal town, let's send it a load of swimming trunks. Well, you might be a person who is not interested in wearing swimming trunks at all and happens to live in Folkestone, and that's just therefore not relevant, and it's all about relevance.
Yeah. So we've obviously covered a lot today, but where do you think the focus should be now for successful retailers? Do you think it is that do you think it's more the culture piece and, fostering a culture within a business so that in-store teams understand the importance of online and act collaboratively? Or
we've kind of got to come up with the top 5 tips. And the first of those is eradicating those silos that have grown up with the business, very much having a one team mentality, and everybody working together in a collaborative way to increase sales, not increase their particular channel sales. And then that leads us on to having a single source of truth for all data and reporting. So, you know, if you've got stock levels, then that's one communal stock level that everyone can pull from. Not, oh, that's online stock, it's in stock online. It's in stock for the business, not just for online. Okay, obviously, if you're distributing to stores, it's more difficult, but that's at the point at which the business should say, we haven't got it in this particular store, but I can get it into this particular store for you tomorrow. So it's about having that one source of truth for stock, but also for reporting as well, so that everybody's aware of where the sales are coming from, and they can work as a team to drive sales wherever they're coming from. And then that leads you on to multi-channel reward and cooperation. So you have you don't have channel specific targets and goals. And if a sale comes via social, then they look at a website and then they buy it in store. You can track that customer journey and you can attribute the reward accordingly. There's Phil's point about the cognitive diversity. There's no point ignoring a particular section of the community. You need to be looking at everybody, considering what everybody likes, so that you can then personalise. And personalising customer experience in response to acquired data, not the purchase channel or where they purchase their goods from, is really important as well. And they would be our top tips.
Do those 5 things and success is not just around the corner, but might be further down the line.
I mean, I think I agree with that. I think for me, it's breaking down those silos. It's the quality data, therefore leading to that personalization that will kind of drive success. And if retailers don't invest in that in the shorter term, the barriers to get there will be higher as we move forward, because they will lose ground and lose market share and everything like that. So I think the time is that people need to be looking at it now. And I think, as we said, I don't think technology is a tool for that, but it is cultural as well. And board decisions, as you quite well know, the makeup of the board, there's no point continuing with something that's not working. You need to rip up the hymn sheet and start again. And I think that's what the kind of mentality and they need to take their lessons from the banks, because the banks have taken a thumping from new startups being personalized, being easy to access, easily onboarding, easily that it's their same.
I think for me, it's recognizing where they are at the moment and making sure they have that consistency, because I think a lot of them think that they have, but they haven't, because as Emma said, they built these silos, and they'll speak to the silos individually and go, yeah, no, that's all consistent across it. And then once they've got that, investing in the tools and the foundations, really stop trying to look for the quick fix all the time. Look at getting the foundations in that will provide you with that single source of truth that you can then take that and tailor it to all of your different channels out to market, making sure that they have that consistency and customers can shop in the way that they want to shop, not the way you want them to shop.
Yeah.
Totally right.
Great. Well, thank you, guys. And if anybody has any questions, then obviously we'll open that up to questions online. So everybody will be open to answering those if anybody has got any questions.